Hi, welcome to Fiveable. I'm Carolyn Castellanos, and I will be your host tonight. We're finally going to get to talk about this big word, diaspora or diasporic communities. And this is one of those $1,000,000 words that when I went to grad school, everybody's using this, the diaspora. And I'm like, oh my God, what's a diaspora? And when I finally learned what it was, I was like, oh, that's pretty easy. Okay, I'm not too far behind all these people who sound really intelligent with their big words that I don't know. So now you can impress your teachers and your college professors later on because you know this great word. So our warm up. All right, so we have this lovely kind of picture here. So this is the tomb of Angia, a leader of a Sogdian immigrant community. So the Sogdians are a diaspora. So these guys move from Central Asia. It's actually kind of Eastern Iran, right? And they'll move over. Today, their original area was more like Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan. And so they traveled over into China and they were merchants. And so they've moved over, along the Silk Road and kind of spread out in this merchant community for business, right? Because, got to sell your goods on the Silk Road. It's kind of a guaranteed place that's good for merchants. And so that's what the Sogdians did, right? And so we can see this is a beautiful stone couch here, right? And its form is Chinese, right? So if you look at the couch, right, this kind of setting, right, looks very Chinese, right? You've got kind of pagoda type here, but the gilt, right, it's gilded with this gold, right? So something covered in gold is gilded, and so this is actually something that we see in Persia, and so this reflects kind of a diverse cultures, right? So you've got the Chinese element, you also have the Persian element. And so one of the great things that our diasporic communities did was they would blend cultures and they would bring cultural elements, from Persia all the way over to China. All right, and so we can see China there on the map. Okay, so today we're going to look at the definition of a diaspora. So hopefully you've already got a good idea of that from the warm-up. Causes and effects of diasporic communities. And then I have some practice multiple choice questions, a practice SAQ. And if you want homework, you can write an SAQ and then the Fiveable teachers will score it and give you feedback. And then I'm also streaming on short answers on Thursday. So Thursday at 7 Central. And so we would like to put some of your samples in that next stream, and then we can work through those and do that. So I'm hoping some of y'all will participate in that. It'll be fun. All right. So what is a diaspora? All right. So it's the dispersion of any people from their original homeland. So basically people move away from their homeland, and there's going to be different reasons that they move. Okay. All right. Got some good emojis going on. Okay, so some synonyms would be exodus, dispersal, migration, dispersion again, dissolution, expatriation, scattering, displacement. So people move away, right, from their homeland, and there's often a large group of people from different homelands. So we'll see this. Okay, so let's look to make sure we've got the idea of what it is. And so we're not going to cover every single diaspora in world history, right? That would be too much. But as long as you've got the idea of what a diaspora is, it's, people who've moved away either by choice or by force, and some of the kind of causes and effects of that, you'll be good in this course. Okay, so our definition again, the dispersal of any people from their original homeland. And over here, some kind of facts, right? So movement, right? A diaspora, there will be movement, right? So, someone who's gone, they have to go somewhere, right? They often have this shared collective memory, right? So if we think of people who've moved from their homeland, so, dang, I gave it away. Okay, don't look at the left side of your screen. Can anyone think of examples of diaspora? I was supposed to ask this earlier. Let's go over here. Okay, so darn it. There's a big Jewish diaspora, an African diaspora, the Armenians. Okay, the Jews, right? Is it definite Cubans? Yes, of course, right? Think of Miami. Got a huge Cuban diaspora there. The Irish after the potato famine. Today, we're going to talk a lot about merchants, right? Haitians in Little Haiti, of course. All right, good. All right, okay, so we get the idea. This is actually, it's a big word, but it's actually a pretty simple idea. And so here's where we get the idea, if we go back to facts and characteristics, of that collective memory, right? And our Puerto Ricans in New York, right? So some say there's more Puerto Ricans in New York than Puerto Rico. I'm not sure I believe that or not. Haven't fact checked that one. But your Puerto Ricans who do move to New York, they have this collective memory, right? What it's like at home, what the food's like, the music. And so that often lends itself to a desire to return home, right? Even people who move away for better opportunities, you miss the good old days, you miss home, and you kind of have this desire to go back and definitely, at least to, get your native food back. Ethnic identity is definitely maintained, right? So think of, Little Haiti or Little Italy, Chinatown, right? People in a diaspora, they tend to want to stick together. They don't necessarily want to kind of mix and, assimilate into the new community that they live in. They want to maintain some of that identity. And then there's often the solidarity with group members, right? And we can definitely see that with, say, your Cubans in Miami, right? They still identify as this strong Cuban group and fight for different rights and stuff like that. And then I like it. Muslim merchants in Indian port cities. Yes. Y'all are way ahead of me. All right. We'll be going there. Okay. So we've got examples. So non-examples, we have what they call snowbirds. So I'm in Texas and we had what we call false fall. It cooled down on Friday and yesterday. And now, it's like 75 degrees. It's not even cold anymore. But so we get a lot of what they call snowbirds. So people from Canada or, far up north will, who've retired or have enough money will come spend the winter down in Texas. So they have a nice mild winter and then they'll go up to Canada or Alaska for summer. So they get kind of that cool weather all year round. So those really would not be a diaspora. They're just kind of dividing their time between two places. They aren't permanently moving somewhere. Okay, how does everybody feel about the definition of a diaspora? Are we good? If you want to just drop an emoji in the chat, that would be awesome. Okay, we're good. All right. Okay, again, big word, strange word. Forget how to spell it sometimes. Not too hard. Okay, so let's look at our diasporic communities today. Okay, and again, okay, sorry, I'm from Texas. We're a little obnoxious about Texas and Texas. But so after Hurricane Katrina, we got there was a huge, New Orleans diaspora that spread out, right? This is kind of a newer diaspora, right? We think of the Muslim merchants, from the 1450s. We think the Jewish diaspora, the African diaspora has been around and growing forever, but not this New Orleans. And so I'm here in San Antonio. We had maybe 35,000 people come from New Orleans after the hurricane. And now we still have a big number who have stayed. And it was really interesting. I worked at our university, the University of Texas at San Antonio, and I had to register quite a few students that came over from the hurricane. And I asked them, so are you like anxious to get back? What do you think you'll do? And it was funny, they had only been here a week and they all said they wanted to stay. And I asked why, you really haven't been here long enough to know if you really like it. And they said the schools. They actually said that our schools like bus students. And so I don't know if maybe in New Orleans, like they had to take city bus or walk, but we have those yellow school buses driving all around in neighborhoods. But yeah. So anyways, okay. So some of those people have spread out, right? So that's kind of a modern day diaspora. Of course, the African diaspora. So people are still moving from Africa today, right, to many different countries. So I like your comment, Donald, about the disasters, right? So you often, after any kind of disaster, right, people are going to get displaced. With the Bahamas, of course. And then Puerto Rico got hit with the hurricane last year too, or was that 2 years ago? And so, definitely when there's disasters, people are going to move whether they want to or not. Indian diaspora, right? We've got big Chinese diaspora. Again, I used to work at a college, so we had students from all over the world, and so they will be part of a diaspora. Okay, Cuban, I was there with you, Donald, on that one. Okay, so those are some today, right? And these they're going to grow, right? We're going to get new diaspora as different kind of situations happen. All right, so let's have a little game time, right? I want to make sure you guys are having a little bit of fun with our stream. So let's make sure we know the difference. So let's read our little quote, and then you can answer in the chat. So according to this description, is this person part of a diaspora? All right, so my favorite time of the year is summer. My parents are college professors who love to travel, and we spend the entire summer in a different exotic location each year. It's so much fun to run into other Americans, whether I'm in Australia, Jakarta, or Japan. Okay, good job. No, we are just jealous of this person. Okay. All right, let's try this one. I first came to London to attend the Royal College of Art. I liked it so much I stayed. I sometimes miss my home, but I hear more Irish accents in my neighborhood than English, and I know I'm in the right place. Okay, all right, very good. Yes, so there is a large Irish diaspora in London, right? The Irish tend to move away for college, right? And then later in life, they come back when they kind of want to get back to their roots. Okay. One more. All right, I think you've got it, but let's do one more for fun. I finally found a good paying job in Dubai, in the UAE, United Arab Emirates. I earn enough to share an apartment and also send money home to my wife and children in India. I miss them dearly and hope to see them next year. Ooh, probably. Okay. So Donald's like, no, if he returns next year. So I was thinking like, this guy only comes home once or twice a year. And so there is a big group of workers from India who go to Dubai, right? And they only visit, once a year or so, mostly sending that money back. So if you don't really have the option of returning home, then you're definitely part of that diaspora. But we won't have anything quite that tricky on the AP test. So, all right. So that was a little kind of get everyone engaged. All right. So let's look at some, would this be reluctant migration? Probably. Yeah. Right. So I think we have a lot of reluctant migration in the world throughout history and even today. Right. But yeah, definitely. And we'll see some more reluctant migration as we go on. All right, so causes. So why do people spread out, right? Why would you leave your homeland? All right, so opportunity, of course, is a good one, right? Many will leave in search of jobs, right? Or escape religious persecution, just kind of better conditions, political, economic, all of those things. Now we'll see a lot in history labor, right? And of course, looking for jobs obviously kind of falls in the labor category. But then we have kind of some forced labor or some contract labor like indentured servants. So have y'all covered indentured servants yet? I know I haven't quite gotten there in my class. So indentured servants, they usually sign a contract. So this is how a lot of people made it to the Americas. So if they couldn't afford the boat ride, to immigrate to the Americas, someone would pay for their boat ride and they would sign a contract, saying, okay, yes, I will work for you. And it was usually something crazy like 10 years. I'll work for you for 10 years to pay off my boat ride. And so those are indentured servants. So it's kind of contract work. Some indentured servants, they might do that to pay off something that they owe. And so they're not slaves. Once they work off that contract, then they no longer have to work for that person. But that often was a way that people moved. And of course, slavery, of course, is a labor system, but it's also forced labor. And we know the African diaspora. And then, others were taken as slaves as well. Okay, what else? Victims or refugees, right? So when there's one of those disasters, famines or genocide, wars. So genocides, of course, the Jews in the World War II, but the Armenians before that, right? We think of Rwanda and Burundi in the 90s, right? So unfortunately, there's a lot of genocides which have caused diasporas. Okay, and sometimes imperial or colonial. So as we're getting into our second time period, 1450 to 1750, as say the British Empire spreads out, they take America, Australia, Canada, India, right? Half the world, no. But the British Empire spreads out. People will go for opportunities in parts of that empire. So that's kind of our colonial. And then, of course, Donald, good call on the Syrian immigrants. So a lot went to Europe. Some have come to the US, but definitely not as many. So we have a lot of diaspora today. Okay, very nice. All right. Trade or business, moving for better trade or business opportunities. So today, outsourcing, so we think we outsource, say, to India, but some Americans will move over there to run those companies, right? And they mostly will have Indian workers, but they'll also have Americans that go to kind of do that. So I think this is a really good concept that, is great to know throughout history, and then also something that affects us today. All right. Okay, so for your 1200 to 1450 time period, one of the biggest diaspora that we look at is the merchant communities. And so here I have a map showing the Muslim merchant communities. And so as your Islamic empires expand, right, trade's going to be a big thing that they want to monitor, right? You can make a lot of money off of trade, taxing it, keeping those trade routes safe as well, right, is good for the empires. And so all along these stops, you're going to have Muslim merchants. So whether it's throughout Africa, the Mediterranean, right, Arabian Peninsula, Anatolia is Turkey, that's down here, Persia over here, a little bit into India, but the ports, for sure, we're going to have Muslim merchants in the ports. So we get this huge Muslim diaspora or merchant diaspora. And so with merchants, it's not just going to be Muslims, but we'll have Hindus that go into Malacca. They were a little bit earlier than the Muslims, and they kind of take over. Definitely a big Chinese merchant community, right? So we'll go over some more of those. Jewish merchant community. And so that's kind of the big one that we see on the AP test a lot. Okay. Now, other interesting facts. I'm not sure if y'all have made it to the Mongols yet. I think, was it Jed and Varun that streamed on the Mongols? That'll be a good one to go back and watch if you weren't able to tune in. But the Mongols moved artisans around their empire. So, when they attacked, they often wiped out whole villages, dogs. Apparently, Genghis Khan had an issue with dogs. So he would often, he'd kill everyone and their pets too. But he was smart enough not to kill the merchants and different skilled people, craftspeople, people involved with technology, and he would move them, throughout the empire. So he often took a lot of Muslims from, our Islamic empires and would move them, where they needed to be, up into Russia or up into the Mongolia area, so that technology would spread. All right, thanks, Donald. Okay. So those are some couple ways, right, that AP is kind of hoping you'll know, right? The African diaspora due to slavery is, everyone kind of knows that. But the merchant communities is really important, and you'll see lots of questions on that. All right, so let's see if we can find the effects through some practice questions. So the practice questions might not necessarily be asking you for an effect of diasporic communities, but it's going to be in there. You'll see. It should make sense once we go through here. Okay. All right. So Eric wrote this question. You might have seen it in another stream, but it's a good one. So we're gonna reuse it. Okay. So this is our stimulus, right? So on the AP test, you've got a stimulus. So this is that Malacca, right? That Indonesia area. And it says Majapahit Empire during its heyday in the 14th century CE. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Probably did. And then here we have a statue that says deified portrayal of Radhan Wijaya, founder of the Majapahit Empire. And he's portrayed as Harahara, the half Shiva, half Krishna god. And this was found in Jakarta, Indonesia. All right, so he's deified, right? So this is one of our god kings, right? Okay, I can say this. So this is our Hindu god king, right? That has come from India down into our Indonesia, Malacca, Jakarta area. Okay, so let's look at our question here. Okay, when I do that, it moves over. All right, so which of the following most contributed to the figures used in the statue above? And you can answer in the chat if you want to. Okay, so which would contribute to the figures used in the statue? So A, diasporic communities from South Asia settling in Southeast Asia, conquering and colonization of Southeast Asia, religious syncretism, or state patronage of the arts. Okay, Desi's got an answer. Javier, give you a second there. Have to wait. I know it takes a lot longer to type in an answer than to shout it out or raise your hand. Okay, but these look pretty good so far. All right, Sunny's got it. Okay, very nice. All right, so this one is diasporic communities, right? From South Asia, settling in Southeast Asia. So again, you got to remember South Asia is India. Somehow we've transitioned into South Asia instead of saying India. So that I've just got to remember. And Southeast Asia, well, that could open up a lot of places, but Indonesia definitely falls into Southeast Asia. All right, so this is, so our Hindu merchants moved over here. They brought the religion with them, the idea of the god king, and that's gonna stay there. Okay, now, so that's one question, right? So you might see a question like this, where diasporic communities brought something, right? They caused something. Now, so we were looking at the effects. So what effect do we have of diasporic merchant communities? So we know what caused them. So what kind of effects do they have on their new communities? So what are we getting from that? Okay, here we go. What effect do diasporic merchant communities have in Southeast Asia? Any ideas on that one? So if you want to put that in the chat. So what kind of effect were they having on Indonesia? Maybe I should have made that multiple choice. Integration and blending of culture and religions. Okay, good, perfect. Yeah, they spread religions, right? Okay, perfect. They spread Hinduism, religious culture. And so a lot of these diaspora merchants, right, are going to spread religion. Okay, I knew y'all would know that. All right. Okay, man, I had a hard time finding a fourth answer choice for this question. So writing test questions is really hard. Don't judge me. But we'll see. Let's see how this one goes. Okay, so we've got Muslim astronomers up top here. All right, making their calculations. And then a medieval hospital with Muslim doctors created the first hospital, right? Kind of get the sick people together. All right, so the literary, artistic, and scientific developments of the Islamic Golden Age spread throughout Afro-Eurasia through Muslim missionaries, military conquest, or C, diasporic Muslim merchant communities. Okay, C, of course. All right, so diasporic merchant communities is not always going to be the answer, but these are similar to some questions that we have seen on past AP exams. Okay, perfect. Yeah, it was that answer choice D that I was like, I can't come up with a third one. Okay, all right, very nice. Well, so what effect is going on here? So if the merchants spread religion, then what are they spreading here? Oh, if they are Sufis. Yeah, Donald, you probably know more than me on that one, probably. So did the Sufis actually build schools? I don't know about that one. Oh, they did. Yeah. Okay, so that would probably work. And then my D definitely, like, I kept having the problem of there's more than one correct answer. So I don't know. Writing these test questions is hard. I was trying. So yeah, this is why I don't write. Yeah, they didn't go to all areas. Okay. Yeah, this is why I'm not writing the AP test. Okay. All right. So here they are spreading. What's the effect here? If you want to type that in the chat. So we had astronomers, the idea of the hospital. We've got a lot of good chat going on. Sometimes everyone's not so chatty. They could spread Islam, but for this one, Sufis seem to have most often focused on spiritual matters. Yeah, I'm not well versed in Sufism. The mysticism. I feel like that's going to be my summer project. I need to kind of brush up on them. Okay, but so diffusion of science, literature, art, technology, right, medical inventions, all of that, right? So, okay, so the effects are spreading religions, science, literature, art, and then of course, we know the Islamic Golden Age, right? They've got amazing technology, marriage laws, yes. So ideas spread too, right? Art and architecture, of course, very nice. So those are spread. Okay, this one's a little different. Okay, I think this is our last one here. All right, so let me read the little passage. It does not seem to me that the Jewish people can be the cause of this general epidemic throughout the whole world, as many suggest. My reasoning is as follows. First, it is well known that in most places where the Jewish people dwell, they died in droves from the exact same disease as the Christians. If they really caused the epidemic, they would not have killed themselves and others of their faith. Okay, this is from Conrad Megenberg concerning the morality in Germany. All right. Do we know what epidemic or disease they're talking about in this question? Black plague. Okay, perfect. So the passage above suggests the following about diasporic communities. A, members tended to stick together and not marry or dwell outside of their community. B, members enriched their new communities by spreading ideas from the homeland. C, members blended so well into their new community that they were hardly noticed. Or D, members of diasporas were treated as outsiders and often blamed for diseases and natural disasters. Okay, great job. Going with D. Yeah, so because this one they're blaming the Jews for the Black Plague, D is the best answer, right? And so with AP, they always say select the best answer. But all of these can actually are true things with with certain diaspora, right? Some stick together, right? The Jews tended to stick together and marry other Jews. Muslims often as well. Of course, they enrich their new communities by spreading ideas and technology and stuff. Some blend, others don't, right? Sometimes they cause, sometimes they don't blend in so well. So from this one, okay, we got that. So what effect did the Jewish diaspora seem to have in the Middle Ages of Europe? Best answer for an AP question. Yeah, for sure. So if you look back at the chat, so the question shows how diasporic communities often come up on the AP test. Yeah. So yeah, it is something to recognize. And I was pulling release questions and making a test, and there were so many questions had an answer choice of diasporic merchant communities, but it wasn't always the answer. It wasn't always what they were looking for. But hopefully this gives you an idea of how it could come up on a test, either in your class or on the AP test. Okay, so the Jewish diaspora kind of had a little bit different effect. Well, sometimes during the plague, they sometimes increased tensions. So any kind of group of new people moving in can increase tensions, right? If we, see that in the world today, right? A group immigrates to the United States. Sometimes that causes tensions. And so the Jews are often kind of the victims of persecution in different ways. What do we have here? Yeah, so after the Moors, right? After Spain is going to kick out the Moors and the Muslims, right? Then they have, the Spanish Inquisition, and they exile the Jews. Yeah, so a lot of, interesting history, I guess. Kind of some of our history is just not very nice, but we study it so that we don't kind of repeat our mistakes of the past. Okay. So awesome. So we've got some effects, right? Often they cause tensions. They spread good things like ideas in religion, technology, literature, art. All right. So are we ready for a practice short answer? Okay. So, I think we're going to work through these together. And then if you're up to it, we've provided a way for y'all to answer an additional short answer, and we will grade it for you. Okay, but let's kind of work through. So I know some of y'all are forging straight ahead, and your teachers are having you write often, and maybe others not so much. So we'll just kind of work through this one and make sure we're doing well. Okay, so when I have my students answer the short answers, I like to use ACE. And so it stands for answer the question, cite evidence or an example, and then explain why, or basically explain how this answers the question. And so here's our question today. Identify and explain a similarity between two diasporic communities in the period 1200 to 1450. Identify and explain another similarity, and then identify and explain one difference. Okay, so let's get through here. All right, so let's look at some sample answers. And so I included the sentence stems. So a lot of my students kind of blank out, and they're like, I don't even know how to start the question. So if you're in that boat, I have some sentence stems for you with basically repeat the question. And so that's your ACE, right? The A in your ACE, answer the question. So if you kind of repeat the question back, a similarity between two diasporic communities is blank. And then to get to the C, the cite evidence or example, for example, And then your explanation, you could use therefore. All right, but you don't have to do all this. Okay. Thanks, Donald. Let me go back. Okay. So let's go through this. So I've highlighted, these colors were kind of giving me a headache yesterday. So let's see if we can handle how bright that is. Okay. So I wanted to highlight where the student did the A, the C, and the E. So we have a similarity between two diasporic communities is that they were merchants. Okay. So they've answered the question. And then, for example, Sogdian merchants relocated throughout Asia in order to trade and grow their merchant businesses. And now they're going to give us a second example that you don't have to, but you can. Hindu merchants also relocated throughout Indonesia and Southeast Asia in order to trade. Okay, so some good examples there. And then the therefore. So this is where they tie it all together, right? And you're explaining, so how does this example kind of answer the question of how are they similar? So therefore, Sogdian and Hindu diasporic communities were similar because they relocated in order to trade and increase their merchant business. All right, so that would be a nice, good example, right, of how to answer this question. Let's see what we've got. Okay, so let's look at part B. Another similarity between, was I gonna, yeah, okay. So another similarity between, well, are we ready? Let's just go to this part. Okay. Another similarity between two diasporic communities is that many spread religion. All right, so they are kind of restating the question. You don't actually have to restate the question. I just kind of jump into diasporic communities spread religion. But this is a good kind of trick to learn if you get nervous or have test anxiety. Start by restating the question, and then hopefully the rest will flow. Okay, let's look at the examples. So for example, Jews spread out not only looking for economic opportunity, but also to practice their religion without persecution. Jews settled throughout Europe, the Middle East, and even Asia. Now, I don't know how much Jews really spread the Jewish faith, but I think that would work as a correct answer. And then this one also added a second example, which again, you don't have to do, you just need one. Buddhists also had a large diaspora throughout Asia. They spread Buddhism from India to Central Asia, East Asia, and Southeast Asia. And then the E, where they wrap it all together. Therefore, the Jewish and Buddhist diasporas were similar because they spread their religion in their new homelands. All right, how do we feel about that answer? Does that sound pretty good? Hopefully. Okay, all right, good. Okay, and then part C. So this one is going to be the the difference. Okay. All right. So one difference between diasporic communities is their reason for leaving their homeland. Some left willingly while others were forced. Okay. And then, for example, slaves from West Africa were forcibly relocated throughout Afro-Eurasia, while Muslim merchants willingly relocated throughout Afro-Eurasia to expand their businesses. Okay. So I like this one that they're giving two kind of examples. So one that was forced, and slaves were forcibly moved, and then merchants moved on their own. And so I think one of the things that one of the big errors I see with my students is, okay, when it's asking for a similarity, right? The two groups are doing the same thing, right? So it's kind of one example. Okay, so, Buddhists and Muslims spread their religion. Well, here you've got to give examples of one that was moved forcibly and one that was moved on their own. And so sometimes they'll only give kind of half the answer. They'll give one group. Okay, let's see this explanation here. Therefore, the African slave diaspora and Muslim merchant diaspora were different because one was forced to disperse while the other was not. All right, So these are kind of some examples of how to write these, how to kind of flesh out that answer. And if you need, help kind of getting started, we've got those sentence stems to help you out. And again, they're good for when you get nervous. Now, Dawn, what do you think? Like, the answer could be shorter, right? And they could still get the point. See if Donald's still here. I don't know if he's still in our stream. Uh-oh. Okay. So you could answer this a little bit shorter, right? But I think at the beginning of the year, having students kind of do the A, the C, and the E is really nice to get you writing, kind of get set in, kind of a pattern of how to do this. And it's going to make your answers better. Okay, Eric's still here. That shorter can work, but longer is better at first. Okay, good. We're on the same page there. And yeah, so I often, like, first semester, make my students A, C, E, right? Definitely write it all out. And then second semester, when they're doing really well, yeah, you can shorten it. Yeah, I didn't read the SAQs last year, but I read for US for 3 years in a row. And they really, I write really long sentences, so you could do it in one sentence, but you've got to make sure to explain, right? Have an example and explain. So I think you can shorten it to 1 or 2 sentences, probably 2, just to be safe. But you've always got to answer that question, give some kind of an example, and never bullet points. AP Human Geo, I think you can do bullet points, right? But it has to be definitely nice sentences. Okay, so what did Eric say? Oh, the identify questions can be 1 sentence. So if it was just, identify a diasporic community, then could they just say, like, one diasporic community would be Muslim merchants who, spread throughout the Indian Ocean. So that's probably something that would work there. Okay. Exactly. Okay. Perfect. Yay. Okay. Always great when the teacher is getting the answers right. Okay. Now I think the practice. Okay. All right. So how do we feel on answering a short answer on the diaspora? Okay. Oh, did I switch my slides? Oh, no, I gave more examples. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. All right, we're going to skip this. Okay, so those were the similarities. So that was, I don't know what I'm thinking. It's Sunday. I'm on the weekend. Okay, so we did the similarities and differences. So now let's score some, and we've got a new set of questions. It's identify and explain 1 cause of diasporic communities, identify and explain 1 effect of diasporic communities, and then an additional effect. Okay. All right. Don't laugh at these answers. Okay. So how many points would you give this response? And I'm going to go ahead and jump to the highlighted, I think. So we can, well, you know what? Y'all go ahead and read it and type in the chat if you would give it 0, 1, 2, or 3 points. And then we'll look at the highlighted. Okay. What did I put here? Okay, we'll see. All right. I'm glad Eric's here so we can, so I can make sure my scoring is good. Oh, out of 9. No, it's out of 3. It's out of 3. So you get a point for A, a point for B, and a point for C. Okay. So Sophia's not as nice as Javier here. All right. This is where being a teacher, well, it's not fun, right? Grading, and you're like, oh, should I get partial credit? What should I do with this? There's no partial credit on the AP exam. Okay, so let's see what I gave it. All right. So for A, diasporic communities were caused by people leaving. They left and didn't come back. everywhere in Asia. Oh, what did Eric say? It's much easier to be strict when I don't know the student. Yeah, so, you don't know who's scoring your AP exam. And so they tend to be a little stricter. Your teacher's like, oh, I know what he meant by this, or he really got that right in class, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And so you need to be very direct and very explicit on the AP exam, because that grader doesn't know you, doesn't care, right? Okay, so I gave the first one 0 points because, so when we're talking about a cause of diaspora, College Board really wants something not so vague, right? Well, people leaving. Okay, technically, yeah, that's like the definition. But they left and didn't come back everywhere in Asia. And it's not great grammar. So they want like slavery, right? Indentured servitude caused people, they were forcibly removed, or a natural disaster, after Katrina caused people to move, or they moved as merchants, right? So I think this is just too vague, right? Is there really any evidence here? So that one, we're not going to give any points. Okay, so I did get kind of the example here. An effect of diasporic merchant communities is religion. Okay, so we did say spread of religion, so I think that works. They spread religion, such as Muslim merchants and soldiers spread Islam wherever they moved. So I gave that one a point. I would like a little bit more, but I think this would probably work. Now I know at the beginning of the read, everyone grades kind of strict, and by the end of the read, sometimes things slip in, or the reader, they're constantly looking at different examples, and so an example may not have worked at the beginning of the read, but then it's allowed at the end of the read, although I've had it the other way around too. So you always want your stuff to be read last. Okay, and then the third one, diasporic communities spread slavery where they moved. So this was another effect, right? Well, they're not the ones spreading the slavery on purpose, right? So the slaves aren't spreading the slavery. So that's where this one is. It's just kind of, this should have been more of a cause, right? Does that make sense? Okay, let's see the other examples. Ooh, okay, this is a long one. Okay, all right, go ahead and score this one. Let's see what y'all come up with, and I'm gonna reread it and score it myself. Okay, I saw someone just joined in. We are scoring this short answer and putting our score in the chat. So that's why there's a little bit of silence, although I can't stop talking because it's a stream. Okay. All right, looks like we're doing good. Okay, let's see my awful highlighting. Oh, did I not highlight the bottom? What did I do? Oh, no. Okay, one cause of diasporic communities is slavery. Okay, so that's good. Europeans purchased African slaves and brought them to Europe. In fact, African slaves were dispersed throughout much of Afro-Eurasia, so a cause of this diaspora is the slave trade. All right, so pretty good there. They've got all three parts. It's a correct answer. Let's look at the second one. An effect of diasporic communities is the spread of science and technology. Muslim merchants spread their technology everywhere they went. They spread astronomy, medicine, navigation techniques, and even architecture. Islamic architecture can be seen in the mosque at Cordova, Spain. Okay, I also gave this one a point. They don't really have like the E part in ACE where they're kind of summing it up, but it's all evidence and there is an explanation of it. So I would go ahead and give it the point there. Okay, so y'all gave C a point. Let me see why I did not give. Oh, right here. The question asked for an effect. And so they gave another cause. And so you would not believe how many times that happens on the AP test. So let's read it and see. So they don't get any points because it needed to be an effect. But let's see if it would be a correct cause. Another cause of diasporic merchant communities is missionaries spreading religion. Certain religions, such as Islam and Christianity, sent missionaries out to gain new converts to grow their religion. Yeah, these missionaries often stayed in new lands and never returned. Therefore, okay. Yeah, so that's a really good answer to the wrong question. So that's why that one got the 2 out of 3. See, this is tricky. This is why your teachers are stressed out. Okay, one more. I think I did 3. Okay, so let's try, if y'all are still with me, try scoring this one and go ahead and put your score in the chat. Okay, is that everyone who? Let's wait for Yessie and Desi. Okay, I don't know. All right, y'all are the big participators, so it looks like I read it. Okay, very good, 3 out of 3, right? And we can see how they've kind of covered everything really nicely. So again, a little bit shorter answer can still get you the points, but you know, obviously you're going to try your best on the AP test, so you'll write more rather than not enough. And I really like the short answers. I think they're a great way to get points on the test. So you'll have 3 sets of these worth 20% of the exam, and so that's a good portion, right? You can do these and rack up some points. The only problem is if you don't know the answer, well, it's not multiple choice. So, you know, but do your best. You'll be fine. You'll be able to do well on these. And then, of course, you know, keep streaming with Fiveable. You're going to do really well. Okay, so we're going to try something new. So I've created a Google Sheet, and I've got a brand new SAQ on the diasporic communities. And so if you want to go ahead and type an answer in there, some of us teachers at Fiveable will score it and we'll provide the feedback. And so I believe I set it up right. It's anyone with the link can access the sheet. And so you can go ahead and type these in, and say you could type it tonight or tomorrow, and then Tuesday and Wednesday we'll go ahead and grade it. And then we're also kind of hoping we can use some of your answers on the short answer stream on Thursday. And we don't have to put your name on it if you want it to be anonymous, right? And do a little homework, right? It's 3 sentences. So this question is on changes and continuities with the diaspora. And so just think of period 1200 to 1450. So what has stayed the same with these different communities and what has changed? And I think from this stream, I didn't specifically talk about that, but from the stream, you should be able to come up with some continuities, right? Things that these communities have done over and over, things that kind of stay the same, and then some changes, right? Some little differences. All right. Okay. Thanks, Desi, for your great feedback. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a big concept to know. You need to know it, you know, throughout your high school career, college career. And then I hope y'all take advantage and type in an SAQ. And y'all were a really fun group. The chat was very lively, so which makes it a lot of fun. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. All right. Well, thanks. Have a great evening.